Hello and welcome to the Old Guy CNC channel. In this video we'll take a look at the 3-pin bore calculator. This tool can 1. Calculate the diameters of 3 equally sized gauge pins, technically circles, that will fit into a bore, i.e. a circle of a given diameter. You can use this as a starting point for determining the diameters of 3 gauge pins of different diameters that fit into a bore that you need to measure. Number 2, it can calculate the diameter of a bore given the diameters of 3 gauge pins. Number 3, it can calculate the diameter of a 3rd gauge pin given the diameter of the bore and 2 gauge pins. And number 4, it can determine if and when 3 gauge pins touch their circumscribed bore so as to provide a tight and accurate fit. So let's take a look. To find the diameters of 3 equally sized gauge pins for a given bore diameter, click the Reset button to reset all the fields. Enter the bore diameter, say 0.75, and click the Calculate button. Here we can see the calculated gauge pin diameters that we can use as a starting point for 3 gauge pins you might have in your gauge pin set. To determine the diameter of a bore from the diameters of 3 gauge pins, click the Reset button, clear the value in the bore diameter field, enter the 3 gauge pin diameters, say 0.3, 0.4, and 0.5. Click the Calculate button, and here we can see that the calculated bore diameter is 0.9001. Next, to find the diameter of a 3rd gauge pin given the diameter of a bore and 2 gauge pins, click the Reset button. Enter the bore diameter, say 0.875. Enter the diameter pin 1, say 0.4, and pin 2, 0.45, and click the Calculate button. Now the 3rd pin diameter field shows 0.3594. Here's a hint. Use the calculator to determine the diameter of 3 equally sized gauge pins as described earlier. Then for pin 2, enter a diameter larger or smaller by as little as 1 or 2 thousandths and let the calculator determine the diameter of the 3rd pin. That will ensure a good fit of the pins in the bore. Returning to the example of a hole diameter of 0.75, we'll click Calculate, and the diameters are all 0.3481. We'll set pin 1 to 0.348, and pin 2 to 0.349. Clear the 3rd pin field and click Calculate, and we have the diameter of our 3rd pin. And finally, there is no guarantee that the 3 pin diameters that you may enter contact the bore such that they fit properly and accurately into it. For example, if we reset, clear the bore diameter, and enter pin diameters of 0.15, 0.3, and 0.4, we can see in the simulated picture is now drawn in red, signifying that the 3 gauge pins do not and cannot be used to accurately measure the hull. A full explanation is provided in the online help when you click the help link. And that wraps up this description of the 3-pin bore calculator. Thanks for watching.